Hello, today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the college data organizer that is created by College UnMazed. Throughout the College UnMazed curriculum, we really believe on providing critical information to families as they navigate the high school to college process. And some of the information that is out there is really overwhelming to students because they simply don't know how to use the data and statistics that can be really important in making that informed decision. So, the college data organizer is built around what we call our lead strategy. It's building a college list, exploring colleges, applying for colleges, deciding on a colleges, and then succeeding once you're at that college. So, all this data and information comes in at very important times as a student goes through that lead strategy. And so, this is a way to sort of organize it and really to think and conceptualize and analyze some of that information that's a little bit hard to find. So if you look and download this document. So you can download it either as an Excel sheet or Google Sheets at collegeunmazed.com/downloads. You will find it. Now, this is the most recent data. So this just came out this spring and is now, the most recent that you can find anywhere. And so here on the first home tab, you will find how to go through this process. And like I said, this is directly integrated into the College Unmazed workbook that we have for students and schools and programs. So let's go to the next tab, the CDO, and this is where you're going to find the most information that's going to be very critical for families. So if you can see here on the left-hand side, we have something called the 6 keys of college fit, because we really believe that as a student goes through the lead strategy, they need to be thinking about what is most important to them on making an informed college decision. Is it something based on academic match, student outcomes, financial match, personal match, student support, and career match? So we want a student to look at all these aspects, because what we find is a lot of times they just sort of focus on, can I get in? And what does that look like? And it really means when you look at success rates over time, there's a lot more to success than just can I get in? And so we really, really want families to focus on all the 6 keys versus just one or two heavily. So we're going to just pick a few schools. Up here in the orange, you can do up to 12 colleges. Now, I live in Florida, so I'm just going to do the University of Florida and just type it in. You want to make sure that you spell it correctly. I'll pick a few, University of Central Florida. So you can see as I enter in this information in the college, you start seeing some color coding, and I'll explain the color coding here in just a second. So let me put in one more for right now. Let's do the University of North Carolina. Now you'll see here the University UNC program has multiple different campuses. So that would be a good thing when they're like, oh, I'm interested in, UNC. Which one? Which campus? And then you want to make sure, because I have had students, unfortunately, think they're applying to one and they applied to the wrong one. So let's do Chapel Hill, and you can see the color coding changes, and you can actually turn off and on the color coding. But once you see it and you start using it, you want to typically keep the color coding on. So what we're showing here is all, again, statistics that you can find through the iPads, and you'll see here the green really means it's beneficial to the student. So it could have the highest admission rate, it could have the lowest ACT SAT scores that are required, it could be maybe the highest retention rate, maybe the highest 4-year graduation rate. It could be at one of the cheapest colleges. It has the most aid given to any school. So it's things that benefit the student. White is in the middle, and yellow means it's just a little bit more difficult for a student. So it could be more expensive, it could be less aid, it could be harder to get into. Doesn't mean that they should take that off their list, but it's something to be sort of cautionary. So when you're kind of looking at your chances of admissions, or financial match is really important, it gives students a different perspective to kind of know, okay, how do I rank these schools that are on my list? Now let's just add in one more school. I'm going to add in Harvard just to add it. So you can see as I add more schools, the color coding changes. So that's another really nice feature, is that this list is compared against this list. And so unlike other programs where, you're kind of looking at it and you can only maybe do 2 or 3 schools, here you can do up to 12. It changes. And if a student comes back in and wants to just, take out Harvard, because now I'm not interested in it anymore, your color coding goes back to it, right? So I'm going to keep just Harvard on my list. So a few data points I want to kind of point out, because we don't find them anywhere else, and we do think it's really important for students to understand. Um, we like the percent of men admitted and women, especially for those STEM schools or schools that are really trying to recruit one or the other, is always kind of important. Um, Other things that I like to see is percent submitting SAT and ACT scores. So, for example, Harvard has a test optional policy for last year, and you can see 55% submitted SAT and 28% submitted ACT. Now, those are students who actually enrolled, admitted, and were enrolled in the college. So when you're looking at, over, what was that, 3% of students are actually coming in with test scores. So the test optional policy is, if you think you're coming in with not having test scores, it's going to be much, much harder. And with the lower admission rate to begin with, it's going to be really difficult. So, we're here, University of Florida and UCF are all, they're required to submit test scores. So you're going to see that some students submit both. And that's why UF has multiple or over 100%. Other things that we like to really show to families, obviously retention rate, graduation rates, but we also really focus on cost of attendance, but more importantly, net price based on income. And so that kind of gives you that idea of, okay, where would I be at, after institutional aid? I point out very often percent of students receiving institutional aid, all this at a college here. This was a popular one for some of my students this year. 95% of students at Marist College receive some type of scholarship, and on average, almost $22,000. So when you look at sort of the price tag being one of the most expensive, all of a sudden, it actually becomes one of the more reasonable colleges because of the amount of aid. So that again is helping them before they even get that award letter to really understand what to expect from this college, and as sort of a scholarship discount per se. So I think that that is kind of an important statistic. You will see that some of the data is not there. And the reason it's not there is because we want students to actually do something. It's a little more subjective, or something they have to do to, it's not readily available. So for example, here is we want a family to go through and use the net price calculator based on their own information, and to enter how much, each college is going to, give them, or they would have to pay. So you can, sort of put in whatever numbers. Other things that they might have to do is they actually have to rate. So once they've kind of explored the colleges through their website, through college visits, talking to admissions, we want them to kind of go back through and look at each of the 6 keys and kind of rate it based on what they're looking for, what's most important to them. So some of this data, again, they're going to have to sort of enter themselves and look for. So again, it's a scaffolded approach. It's not all at once. So that is the CDO tab. The next tab is the CDS, the common data set. Now, the common data set is not found in one location. As you know, you actually have to go to each college and find the common data set. But the one that we really like for students to check out, and we use it within the book, is C7. And that is showing how a college makes their admissions decisions based on academic factors and non-academic factors. So the information, they have to go find it, and they actually have to enter it. So if I find this information, you can see, enter that information. But what we're trying to find here is sort of patterns. Look for things that maybe we don't know. So let's say this is my students list. We do know that rigor is pretty much the most important factor. The GPA is one of the most important. Test scores is one of the most important. Essays is also very important. Now, here, UF and UCF don't even look at letters of recommendation, but if UNC Chapel Hill and Harvard are on my list, we definitely need to have that conversation about how to get good letters of recommendation. What do we need to do? What's our timeline for that? So, again, more robust conversation. You can also look at alumni, geographical residence, state residency, and so forth. The other one that we like to point out a lot too is the level of applicant interest. So, for example, UCF actually rates it just as important as work experience, volunteer experience. So if UCF was on my list and I was talking to the student, I'd say you really should go visit. You need to do something that they can see that you are interested in the college, because that is part of their decision making process. So the CDS again can ebb and flow, but you have to go find that information and enter it from the C7 area. But it's a nice place to hold on to it. The last tab is the charts tab, and this just takes some of that data from the CDO and kind of highlights some of the key things that we often talk about to our students: percent admitted, retention rates, net price. So I put in after my net price calculator, so it kind of just shows me some of those numbers will populate there. The other thing that I really like to show families is under here, the admissions chart. We talk about this in the apply section. Is once you have your SAT score, so let's say I have a 1350 and a 25, you can see how your test scores sort of line up. It's a nice visualization and very quick to kind of see where you are in terms of general admissions with using those test scores. Again, looking at those percent admitted. If you did find the GPAs that are, you can find that in the common data set or on the website. You can enter that and it'll on the CDO tab and it'll populate here. If I was doing my rating system, it'll tell me kind of what's my best fit. What does that look like? And so just again, it was super useful. It's a scaffolded approach that you don't want to go through and do this all in one day, but you definitely want to use this as you go through the college process and as you learn more information. It really helps you ask better questions and really analyze and find out which college fits you the best. If you have any questions about the College Data Organizer, feel free to email us. Our email is info@collegeunmazed.com. Feel free to also check out our website, www.collegeunmazed.com. And if you would like to download this free document, collegeunmazed.com/downloads. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.